that's self-enforcing. In other words, you rely on technology rather than relying on the legal system. And this has been something that's going on throughout human history. You go with the most effective technique, which is usually technology. It's usually not lawyers. Okay, and that's why we have Office 365. I mean, there's other reasons, but the main reason is, hey, you stop paying the licensing fee, you lose access, right? So, subscription services in the cloud are really a way of creating self-enforcing contracts through technology. You don't need lawyers. Okay? You just flip the switch. So this is really the idea, right, that Nick Szabo came up with in one version of it. It's called smart contracts, right? So you all probably read the article and the idea, and his idea was, look, what if we could replace law with code, right? What if we could make law into code and operate in the same way as a vending machine? I love this metaphor, right? The idea, it's not a perfect metaphor, but the idea is you put the money in, you get the chips. You don't put the money in, you don't get the chips, right? Self-enforcing. You don't need a lawyer standing by to make sure that the chips come out of the machine. If the chip machine is designed correctly, then everything works according to fashion. So, the other example that he used, which is another brilliant one, is, how the repo man lost his job. So in the olden days, if you financed a car through a auto loan, and if you missed a payment, then what would happen? The bank would have to go and find the car, right? It might be in a garage. There might be a nasty dog in front of the car. It might be a nasty neighborhood. You might have to bring a gun. You might get into a fight. And, you grab the car, you tow it away. Okay, this is really costly. You do have to invoke the law. You need maybe a sheriff to support your position and so forth. Okay, wouldn't it be better if you just had a self-enforcing contract, right? You can't write a contract that says, if you don't pay, if you promise not to drive the car, that's not going to work. But if we can flip the switch, right, and deny you access to the car remotely, then you can no longer drive the car. We don't need a repo man. Guess what? People who have these mechanisms built into their ignitions, they pay their loans. And what that means is they get lower interest rates. And people can get access to credit who couldn't get it otherwise because the technology is more effective than the legal system, right, at enforcing the contract. So what's the biggest vending machine out there? I'm a finance person, done a lot of work with what are called special purpose vehicles. Special purpose vehicle is probably there are more special purpose vehicles than you can imagine. There are millions of special purpose vehicles. If you have a mortgage, your mortgage payment goes to a special purpose vehicle. And that special purpose vehicle spins off cash flows, which go to other special purpose vehicles, which get spun off cash flows that go to other special purpose vehicles. You may have heard of CDOs, CDO squared, CDO cubed, right? MBS, ABS, right? Auto-backed loans, student-loan-backed loans, everything is packed into SPVs. Now, these are operating on autopilot for the most part, meaning that when the cash flows come in, they are distributed through some waterfall method, which is spelled out, right, in the master agreement of the SPV. Okay, but this is all enforced legally. There are thousands of lawyers who make a living sitting at home collecting paychecks just to step in if something goes wrong with these SPVs. Now, it's extraordinarily complicated. And when I look at this from my accountant lens, I see ledgers everywhere. SPV ledgers, right? There's trustee ledgers, investor ledgers, government regulation ledgers. Okay, and they're all interlocking. They all connect to one another. Every time cash goes from one SPV to another claimant, right? What happens is adjustments get made to all of these different ledgers, and reconciliation has to take place. And there's a huge delay. I know people have made billions of dollars purely because of delays in ledger reconciliation back during the 2008-2009 crisis. Okay, all they did was convert PDFs into Excel spreadsheets. Boom, they made billions of dollars by creating unified ledgers. So how does it work, right? If you take out a mortgage on a property, right, or if you get a security interest in some asset, you have to file the security interest somewhere, and it's going to be sitting somewhere. Where is it sitting? It's sitting in some county records office, some state records office. There are 30,000 county records offices in the United States. Most of them are not digitized, which means that if you are making a loan on an asset to a company, you have to run a search, find out, right, whether or not there are any encumbrances or security interests on these assets, whether they be mortgages, whether they be, securities that are created from mortgages, whether they're physical assets, whether it's inventory, whether it's receivables, whatever. This is an incredibly arduous process. It is full of flaws. This system is being completely upended, right, with new kinds of data storage, primarily distributed ledgers. This is the future of this. And so when you look at simple loan securitization, I mentioned simple loan securitization, this is a process. This is a mess. This mess is going to get swept away. Okay, this mess is going to disappear. When people think about blockchain and think, oh, wow, I can pay you $10 to buy a cup of coffee and a sandwich. That is not, right, where the interesting stuff is for me from a finance perspective. It's in these markets. Okay, so every one of these SPVs is governed by a dumb contract. Why not replace it with smart contracts? Because after all you are talking about are what? If-then propositions. If the money comes out, it goes to you. A lot comes in, you get some. If a little comes in, you get some. Right? And so this is where I think we have an opportunity, right, to replace all of these dumb contracts with smart contracts. Okay? So we all know that, right, doctors are potentially going to be replaced by robots. Right? What about finance jobs? Right? Are robots taking over the world of finance jobs? I certainly know a lot of bankers that are concerned. Right? Banking sector, ground zero for job losses. Right? Banking jobs, Citibanks freaking out. Right? What about lawyers? JP Morgan software does in seconds, where it took lawyers 363,000 hours. No one is crying for those lawyers, right? Those lawyer jobs, right? Nobody is weeping, okay? About maybe some Ferrari dealings, okay? But I think this is a good thing overall. Okay, so will the Gates inherit Wall Street? Of course they will, right? Is there any question whatsoever that the Gates are going to inherit Wall Street? They already did. They questioned them years ago. They inherited years ago. Okay, so we know the software is eating the world, and we know also that we can make these contracts enforceable. So 11 states have adopted legislation that essentially recognizes smart contracts as legal contracts. Okay, so the question then is, let's get through this, sorry. These are all different applications I think we'll see in the very short term. So the real question is, will code replace law? And will lawyers disappear? Short answer is no. Because all of the things that make contract law will still exist. And whether you represent your contract using code or whether you do it using natural language, there's going to be an opportunity, right, for disagreement to happen ex post. And so the main change that's going to happen, right, just to boil it down into one sentence, is right now, right, you have clearing before settlement, right? So you figure out what the obligations are, and then if someone fails to perform, you sue for performance. The main change that's going to happen now is performance settlement will happen before clearing. So in other words, the cash will go, and then if there's a problem, you have to sue to get it back. Okay, that's the only change. Okay, so there's going to be a massive improvement in efficiency, but the lawyers will still be there. Okay, so I'll skip all this stuff. Right? But the final conclusion is that, look, no matter how smart your contracts, right, they're going to have a lot of the dumb features that regular contracts have. There's always going to be an opportunity for disagreement. And the lawyers will never go out of work, but their jobs will change. The accountants, the auditors, they'll never get out of work. But instead of reconciling ledgers, they'll be looking at oracles, trying to figure out if they're accurate, looking at sensors, trying to figure out if they're accurate. Okay, sorry. Go over.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of information, right? It's going to just apply it right away, start investing in smart contracts, right? Yes. Okay, so we're going to get to the next agenda item. It's going to be the pitching competition. I call it a competition because I spoke about Founder World 2018. So we have 7 companies that are going to pitch right after I'm done with my little story, right? So these 7 companies are going to pitch in front of well-accomplished judges. And they are going to kind of run a competition to win a ticket to the top 100 startups that we're going to pick for the first round of Founder World Championship. This the top 100. Why is it so special? It's going to be about 1,000 startups worldwide are going to compete to get to this top 100 startups. And then we're gonna, we'll have a competition. There's going to be 20 companies that are going to come off this 100, and then the fun begins. They're going to race towards the time the content to win a $2 million crypto investment. That's going to be the Founder World Championship prize money, or the investment, or the prize, or the winner is going to secure at the end of the pitch competition, the global Founder World Championship. With no further ado, I'm going to bring the judges over to the panel. Jim, Andrew King, Eric, and Dafu, please. If I can have you all here. So the way we do the pitching competition is like, we have the judges come to the stage, talk for about 20 seconds, talk about themselves, give us a simple introduction on who they are and what they do, and then we'll get started with the first competition. I'm going to call Eric.
Hi, everyone. My name's Eric Ludet, and I've been in enterprise technology for over 25 years, and that means I've had the opportunity to get million-dollar checks from companies that spend money on ERP systems, HR systems, and CRM systems. And over the last year or so, I've been working on new tech innovations and sourcing startups for incubators and corporate ventures. And I'm currently also a chief marketing officer of a mobility company that until now wasn't available to do a lot of work on your smartphone. So I'm excited to be here and to look at some new startup ideas.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nithub. I'm from one of the biggest Asian co-working space and incubator. We are called One Piece Work. We have multiple locations in Bay Area, and tonight is our grand opening for our Santa Monica location. Can I get some applause? Today it's my honor to be here, invited by our great partner, F50. And also, we focus on blockchain for this year. We have several very top startup in our network, and we have people, especially people in blockchain, start your startup from 0 to 10, whatever you need. Recruiting, marketing, PR, fundraising, everything you need, you can come to us. Thank you.
Hey everyone, Andrew King. I'm actually in from Chicago. I work for a venture capital fund called OCA Ventures. Background is in finance, so I actually work inside with fintech companies as well as a venture capital and startup lawyer. So a lot of the smart contracts that you guys just heard about, I'm pretty privy to, and working with some startups in the space. Actually at MIT doing that type of stuff. And very interested in blockchain. We're investing more in it. Just working on our investment thesis for the next fund on it. And out in California this is my 10th day ever on the West Coast. So this is a great introduction. Appreciate it, Chase, and thank you guys for hosting me.
And I'm Jim Steele. I'm a VP of Engineering at Knowles. I'm passionate about blockchain. I train online for O'Reilly with blockchain. And I'm an investor in residence with F50, investing money and finding the right startups. Jim at F50.io if you're interested. Thanks.
All right, thank you, judges. So the format of the pitching session is going to be a 4-minute pitch, followed by a 4-minute Q&A. The judges will start with Q&A, and if we run out of questions, we will open it to the audience. The very first company was it WeDAO?
Yeah, WeDAO. First, coming to the stage, WeDAO, AI platform for events promotion.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yes. There's a yes.
Thank you. My name is Lenny. I'm a mathematician with diploma in neural networks, turned serial entrepreneur in business for 20 years now. Part of my business is in music industry. I own a music venue and produce a couple of hundreds of music shows and events. And now I partnered with top music industry insiders who work with Beyonce, Paul McCartney, Elton John, and others to create a platform, decentralized AI platform for music events industry. Okay. So music industry changed a lot last 20 years. Yeah, thanks to Spotify, YouTube, and social media, now we see a completely different music landscape. 20 years ago, we had less than 1,000 internationally developed artists. Right now, you can be a electronic music producer and live in Sweden and have following base in Japan, Korea, Germany, and California, for example. But would you go touring there? Probably not. You'll probably go to London, or Paris, and Amsterdam because your local agent has established business connections with local promoters there. So the music industry is starving for global solution for touring because the global fan base is really high diversified, huge metrics of 300 styles, hundreds of thousands internationally developed artists, thousands locations, 50,000 venues. But the largest corporation in this field is Live Nation. They developed 500 artists only, with $10 billion revenue. So knowing that, we developed the DAO concept for the music industry. DAO, I believe, is the next step of blockchain evolution. So thanks to blockchain, we have smart contracts. Gregory told us a lot about that. And it enables to create decentralized autonomous organizations. That's a new way how people interact with each other to perform certain tasks and share revenues. So in our case, for every event, we form the DAO of artists, local producers, local promoters, influencers, and venues. The beauty of DAO is that anyone can execute the event. Artists could book shows and build tours, knowing where the base is, the fan base is. Venues could book most trending great artists. And social media influencers could collaborate with artists to promote the shows. And basically, the platform itself acts like an AI promoter for music events, so it can execute music events. In the core of it, we have the data engine that processes streaming data and social media data and knows where the fans are, how many are they, and what's the best way to execute the tours. So we process really a lot of data to know that. Yeah, so right now we've built the MVP and we're going to market now. We're starting booking process for the first celebrity artists. We're going to be bringing to Bay Area celebrity artists and to LA actually and San Francisco. So in 6 months, you'll hear about us. We're raising the seed round. Here's our team. My co-founder is 25 years, crypto engineer, who worked in PayPal, sold his technology to McAfee. Dave Fowler is a veteran music producer and promoter. This is our team. Thanks.
Nice job. When's the first event at the amphitheater? Right around the corner here.
They're going to be Post Malone, by the way, who was on the first slide.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Exciting. It's a good venue. Yeah, I've had some experience with marketplaces. Would you put yourself in that category?
Not really. Not really. So we'll be executing events ourselves. So the platform works as an AI promoter. So we book the artist, book the venue, and then sell the tickets. So kind of complete the work process for event execution, promotion, and production. With outsourcing production to local producers and actually forms it out.
And where do you see, smart contracts playing that use case?
We should track who did what, like how many tickets was sold by the social media influencers, how much revenue should the artist get and the venue get, depending on the popularity level, and split the revenue to that. And the smart contracts, we're going to get the box office. So the box office is in our hands, and we split it using smart contracts.
What's the percentage of cancellations of contracts right now?
In our case, or in the industry?
In the industry.
It depends. So with professional promoters, it's not more than 5%, but there's a lot of unprofessional events. For example, somebody not professional trying to book the celebrity artist and then they cancel it. So it happens really. But in professional, it's not more than 5%.
The only other thing I got to turn this over is the beta.
Yeah. Thanks.
Good job. And I have 2 questions. So first one is I'm really interested. How can you why do you name your company like a DAO? What does it mean? And my second question is that your customer including artists and influencer and venue. So how can you? What is your strategy to get more artists and influencer venue on board?
Yeah. So first question, DAO is decentralized autonomous organization. Yeah. So that's I believe that this is the next step in blockchain evolution. So thanks to blockchain, we're able to run the DAOs, the smart contracts. So, and we form the DAO for every event that we do. DAO consists of artists, venues, producers, local promoters, sometimes fans, sometimes different artists because they could be lineups with different artists. And this forms a DAO with a smart contract. And we build the infrastructure to run. And the second question, was how do we approach it? So we start from the artists, and actually we start with celebrity artists to gain the industry trust, and then we go to lower tier artists and self-promote within the community and reach out to them directly and through agencies. That's a bit of a long talk. I mean, we have not so much time. Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty much out of time, but the DAO is already here, I believe. Anyway, what about your AI? Where is that being done? It's not on the blockchain, I presume.
Yeah, that's not on blockchain, right? So we have different set of algorithms. First of it goes to the data, social media streaming data processing and to realize what is the fan base in a certain location for the certain artist and how much is the capacity.
But where is it run? That's the question.
On Google Cloud.
So that's not required for the blockchains. The blockchain is only required for the producers.
For the production, yes. So AI and blockchain are not connected.
One last question. The competition. Where are you guys seeing it right now, and who are you targeting?
Yeah. So we have a couple of startups that are trying to build a little bit differently, but something like that. So we have United Masters who got $70 million from Larry Page recently. They are in artist development. I believe they would go pretty large. Then we have Spotify who announced touring too. So the Spotify is the largest competitor of ours. And they're a little bit different from us, but actually they're in the same space. And also we have classic local promoters and large promoters like Live Nation as competitors. But Live Nation manages only 500 top artists, and we don't go to the space at first. We go to the second tier, which is like about 100,000 artists. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to take 30 seconds to make some quick adjustments. And we'll be moving on to our next presenter.
We have a lot of people listening online.
We have people listening online, so we want to make sure everybody is able to participate. Can you guys hear in the back? You guys good? Yeah, excellent. Just make sure that's good. All right. It's awesome seeing all these wonderful faces out here. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves and you learn about all these different businesses. And now we're going to have Bitcoin. Wait, don't stop it, okay? Sorry. Coin of the Realm with William Lee.
Yes.
And he's also the co-founder of Apollo X.
Yes. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Bill. I'm the co-founder of Apollo X. So at Apollo X, we are building an ecosystem for global decentralized ecosystem. So when I talk about ecosystem, why I talk about ecosystem? Because there's three elements. One is our community. It's a community of sellers, buyers, visionaries, and technologists, just like all of us here. And also the second element is a protocol that we are building. It's called Apollo X protocol. It's basically making it easy for everyone to build and integrate decentralized commerce features onto existing infrastructures. And the third element is the shops that is going to be powered by the Apollo X protocol. And when they connected, they form the largest decentralized marketplace over the world. So that's why we call it the decentralized commerce ecosystem. And then the next question is, why do we want to build a decentralized e-commerce marketplace? Why not just go and shop on Amazon? I mean, I shop at Amazon every day. So despite the fast growing in the last decade of centralized marketplace like Amazon, it has a lot of issues, especially on the seller side. For example, one thing not many people know is that there's a very high commission on Amazon. Sellers typically anywhere they pay 25% to to 50% as a commission fee to Amazon. And we all know who really pay for that. It's the consumers ourselves. And the second problem is the data control. Amazon owns all the data. They have a profile not only on every customers, but also on every seller, on every product. And so as a third-party seller on Amazon, I'm not able to know who actually bought my product. I don't know your email. I have no way to communicate further with you to build my brand. I can only sell to Amazon. I can only pay fees to Amazon. And even worse, Amazon sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, they will jump in to compete with you to cut out those third-party sellers and then get the most profit out of the way. So this ends up in a situation where the customers, the consumers, they are paying a lot of money, higher price for products, while the sellers, the manufacturers, are always living on the edge of bankruptcy. All the money goes to Amazon, and Amazon price just goes higher and higher. So we have to fix that, and the solution is blockchain. We do a couple of things. First of all, we use like the smart contract and the community-backed arbitration process to provide trust. So you don't have to pay that 15% to Amazon so that they can get the return guarantee. We provide seller protection and the buyer protection through our smart contracts. And the second part thing we do is data security. We encrypt before we store every data into our distributed database. So only the sellers and the buyers can see the details of their order. Even as the founder of the platform myself, I'm not able to see like what you have bought in the last year, things like that. So by building this, we essentially give back the control of the money and the data back to the consumers and to the sellers. So yeah, please keep going, skip. So we have 5 elements of our X protocol: arbitration, payment, attribution, reputation, oracle, and data. And also, in order for this to happen, next page, please. We design our token economy to incentive all the positive contributions to the platform. So in other words, you mine our coin by sharing our product on social platform. You mine our coin by leaving a positive review, an honest review, and you mine our coin by listing your best items on our marketplace. So that's basically the idea. And our team have years of experience in e-commerce and building e-commerce technologies. And we also got early investors from blockchain technology pioneers as well as e-commerce veterans. And we are going to launch this next year. And we already have the first node, Genesis node is HoloBlocks, which we have 1 million customers in US, and we have 15 million annual run rate. And we already signed up 20 brands globally to join us the first group of brands on our marketplace. Thank you.
So what blockchain are you using?
So right now we are building on top of Cosmos. So we take it for a reason. First of all, it's server compatible. So eventually we want our protocol to run on multiple blockchains, and we have to build a server compatible. The other part is Cosmos itself supports interchain communication. So that's one thing we look for. And the third reason is because it gives us a good governance control. For example, if something goes wrong in our smart contract, we will be able to quickly fix that issue without holding down the whole chain. So that's a couple of technical reasons.
And how do you incentivize somebody to run your blockchain?
Well, to run as our node, we imagine that most of the people who run our node will be the sellers on our platform, because it's not, we don't require the consumers to run our node in order to make purchase from our platform. And we will incentivize them through the tokens for hosting the nodes. Yeah.
So I have a question about your current situation. Who is the biggest competitor in blockchain e-commerce industry for you, and how do you distinguish yourself in this industry?
Well, you have, if you search for e-commerce blockchain project, you could see dozens or even 100 blockchain projects. But for the people who actually doing a whole protocol for the marketplace, I don't see any. We are probably the first one who is doing the whole life cycle of e-commerce. Some people only do the attribution part, like the ads. They come up with a marketplace or protocol for advertisement. Some people have the protocol for review, like rating reputations. But we believe we have to do the whole life cycle so that everything happens on blockchain. It's not like I'm going to sell my blockchain-based technology to Amazon so that they can fight fake reviews. I don't think that will happen. And everything is more like a community-driven business. So we build everything on top of blockchain. I think that's one of our advantages in terms of technology and architecture. The other part is that our team have been operating one marketplace in the US for almost 3 years, and we have 1 million customers and a lot of vendors. So when we launch our decentralized platform, we will already have a large number of users and sellers on it. I think that's also an advantage of us.
You may have answered that question. My question on my mind is, do you have a working prototype or demo yet?
The fully decentralized part, we don't have it. We are going a path of like decentralized step by step, because eventually our timeline is like in 2 years we want to achieve fully decentralization. But before that, there will be still like our own team will still jump in and help a lot of the process. For example, like during the arbitration process, if there's not enough community members, we will not get efficient arbitration, and then some of our team members may have to take the role. So that's the current status.
With the high cost of advertising for consumers and for brands, how are you going to address that to protect your margins?
Yeah, so one thing we realized is that this is not going to replace advertisement. Advertisement will always be here. There will always be a part of big expense for anyone who is selling product online. But the thing we try to fix is, because many people must are spending time on social media, on social apps, and we actually can share a lot of stuff to our friends. We can share the product, we can share our review, we can share our opinions, and we should get incentivized. We should get reward for doing that. So that's one part is going to drag down the advertisement cost. And the other part is the honest review part. If we could not only incentive people to leave honest review, but also punish people for leaving bad reviews, fake reviews, and also we think we can drag down advertisement cost on that part as well. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. All right. So we just hear someone's trying to put Amazon out of business with the decentralized system. All right. Next, we're going to have big claims coming. Big claims coming up, and I'm just looking for the right chord to get these things started. So many chords. So many chords. You introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, my name is David Alexander. I'm the CEO and founder of BitClaims, bitclaims.io. We're the decentralized healthcare operating system, and we're going to be able to allow people all around the world to finally get access to healthcare with very clear terms at a clear price. Great, okay. Well, healthcare is one of those things, right, where there's a lot of different problems. No one really knows the terms of a deal when you enter into a health insurance contract, right? Does anybody here, raise your hand if you've read your health insurance contract terms, your explanation of benefits. Look at all these hands going up, right? Like 5 total out of a room of 200. That's a problem, right? Because small things like your life could be in the hands of a centralized third party, which is controlling all of the terms of that deal, and they have all of the rules and permissioning around who gets what care and when, and then at what price, right? Does that make sense in the 21st century? Does that kind of a deal make sense? Would anybody here want to go and start paying money monthly, very expensive in most cases, for something where they don't have really any clear, let alone, forget about just price discovery, how about price transparency into the costs of terms, services, things like that? Enter BitClaims. So our team is coming from building technology at firms all over the world at the enterprise level. And we've known each other for years, by the way. And we got together and we said, why are we settling for this kind of a deal? Why are we settling for this kind of a deal in healthcare that's so important to us and our families? Why don't we build a new environment? Why don't we architect a new environment of incentives that puts the incentives in the hands of the patients and that speaks to the integrity of people having the absolute highest quality care at a competitive price, starting by creating a competitive market for healthcare. You can see right now, this is what the current life cycle of just the healthcare claim looks like in the US. And there's a lot going on there. I'm not going to go into it all just for time's sake, but it's very expensive too. So just in the US, it's $400 billion a year. Lots of problems going on. Most people, they don't even have access to healthcare. I'm talking about worldwide. There's 1 billion people that don't have access to any kind of a doctor or medical professional worldwide. In the US, 20% of people don't have any kind of health insurance at all. Why? Because it's expensive, it's confusing, they don't think they can get it. A lot of cases, if you're buying healthcare, say you're a family of four in California, what's the average price for buying healthcare on an exchange, right? An exchange that has no price transparency. It's $3,100 a month. That's more than most people's mortgages, right? Next slide. We're just gonna keep going until we actually hit the app. So let's pause, go one back. Okay, great. So big claims, decentralized healthcare operating system. That is the horizontal. That's like the blockchain rail. Big claims is our app that we've built on top of that so that you can see very clearly the terms of the deal that you're entering into with a doctor. This is called direct primary care. That's the first market segment that we're tackling because your primary care doctor can usually do about 80 to 90% of your whole healthcare in your entire life. Think about that. So why don't we start there? Why don't we make that transparent so that for a flat monthly fee, this is a subscription-based term rather than you pay a fee every time you see a doctor, flat monthly fee, you know the terms of the deal, and you can start crowdsourcing into these types of deals with your own associations, pools, and cooperatives of people that you want to be associated with, right? Rather than just being lumped into everyone else. Go ahead, 2 more slides. So you can see right now, this is the app. This app is going live July 28th. Our mainnet for our blockchain, so the decentralized element where you're basically going to be using our coin for computing power, and there's different tiers to the computing power that you're going to be used, right? People are discovering that maybe proof of work in our environment isn't the best idea. That's why we've partnered with ARC, which is a DPoS, Delegated Proof of Stake, 51 delegates, so that we can kind of parse out the computing power. If there's not going to be a network state change, do you need to have a network computing power behind figuring out transactions? No, probably not. So that's what we're architecting right now. Just to wrap it up, July 28th is when the Big Claims app goes live. Sometime in late Q4 of this year is when the mainnet for the actual blockchain goes live. I just wanted to thank everyone for being here. Thank you.
So you talk about using blockchain to increase transparency on who you're dealing with, but the claims themselves are not stored on blockchain. How do you know the logic of what your claims are?
Sure. So when you do a direct healthcare deal, right, there's no more claim generated anymore. There's no claim at all. It's just you're paying the doctor directly. This is something that's been around for over 20 years. When you start scaling that,
I should say the terms. The
terms you work out directly with your medical provider, right? So your doctor will set a predefined price for you. So for example, I'm in my early 30s, I'm 32. So I pay $60 a month for 12 visits a year to my primary care physician. And that includes one annual checkup and some basic blood work and some labs and some testings and some vaccines, right? You can just scale that appropriately based on your age and the number of people that you want to bring into your group. The reason why the reason why smart contracts and a blockchain work great here is because now you don't have to trust one entity to then take the money and disperse it out to that network. There's full transparency on that portion. And more importantly, there's a mathematical proof that that money's there in that smart contract at all times and that no one can run away with it at will. The other big part of it, and this is a huge problem in healthcare right now, is they can deny you care all the time, right? They can just say out of nowhere that you have a pre-existing condition, we can't cover that treatment, that service, that care, or that this is an experimental kind of treatment, so we don't cover that either. Whereas with this model, it's like we're taking health sharing ministries and health sharing organizations, in addition to a subscription-based model for healthcare, which is revolutionary in my opinion. Instead of a fee-based We're putting it on a blockchain so that the terms are completely transparent and no one can change them at will.
Great. So adoption in the industry?
Yeah, great question. So right now we just signed on 30 Action Urgent Care clinics here in the state of California. $35 a month, unlimited access to all 30 locations. How cool is that? I've literally been traveling all over the United States of America this last year, meeting with dozens of direct primary care physicians. They're all over. They already do this, but how do you scale that? So for example, if I'm an employer and I say I do $10 million a year gross and I'm spending $1 million a year just on my employee healthcare benefits because I have a fully insured plan, not an ASO plan. That means that I'm trusting that United, Blue Cross Blue Shield, or another entity is going to take care of my employees and pay their claims. When I'm paying that much money per employee, how do I share that kind of a deal in a trustless fashion with a whole network of providers? That's what Big Claims, the actual app itself, will do. Does that make sense? You look kind of teetering.
So,
this guy.
Are you guys going to be a carrier?
Absolutely not. No, we're a platform similar to like OpenBazaar. Anybody can run the code, but if you want to use our UI and UX, then you log in and use that for the Big Claims app itself. But where Big Claims is the horizontal, that is the healthcare operating system, and the Big Claims app is one vertical. The reason why is we started with the app itself, right? We started with just Big Claims, and we realized that the environment that we're making didn't exist yet, so we had to actually build our own, and that's where the partnership with ARC came in, and we have to customize things along the way. There isn't in existence right now in this second something that will be able to enable what we need to do to help patients get the care that they need and create this kind of marketplace.
So if you have an insurance policy, are you guys going to be the back end to it for the doctor on the payer side? Or I'm lost where this
Sure.
fits.
No payers, no third parties. So all of those silos gone, right? This is direct to your provider network. I would pair this. This is what I do now. I have a direct primary care physician that I pay a flat monthly fee for, $60 a month. Then I have a health sharing plan for another $150 a month that takes care of everything else catastrophic. We are not a full service solution this second. We want to be down the road, but we're starting sequentially with direct primary care first. And we're also going to go into pharmaceuticals next, forming buyers clubs around buying certain drugs from generic companies. And then we're going to scale up from there.
Great. I didn't see any numbers related to fraud, but I think more people steal money from insurance than any other place. So, fraud, waste, and abuse. That was a big app we sold at IBM for millions to insurance companies to be able to figure out, where the money is being lost. So, are you thinking about fraud, waste, and abuse? It's a big a driver for your solution.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess our primary use case is compassion for people that are dying because they're getting denied on their healthcare treatments. That's number one. Definitely 2 and 3 include fraud.
Okay, I'm really interested in your coins releasing strategy.
Yeah, sure. So right now, the July 28th date, pretty firm for our demo of the app getting released itself. The actual mainnet and the network and the coin behind that, we're looking at like late Q4 for that release.
Any questions?
Thank you. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Decentralized Direct Healthcare Network. And next, we're going to have Steve Yaskin, the CEO of Carbon Me Incorporated, a clinical network which compiles a complete medical history for patients, healthcare providers, and administrators.
Hi, my name is Steve Yaskin, co-founder, CEO of Carbon. Steve Yaskin, CEO, co-founder of Carbon. Blockchain political network. We also work in healthcare, one of the kind of boring stuff, but one of the most backwards and one of the most needed solutions for the global market today. So 2018, everybody talking about their digital footprints today. You wouldn't dare buy a car, used car, you check the Carfax first. You would never buy a house without checking the history. And you bank at many banks, you download something like QuickBooks, you indicate I bank at Wells Fargo Chase, and the data starts coming in, right? Why can't we do it in healthcare today? Why can't we get all our medical records in one place? Why can't we own our medical history? Well, there are a couple of big paramount problems. One of them was created about 20 years ago. It's called HIPAA law. It's still prevalent in this country. Europe, as you heard, just enacted GDPR set of laws, which pretty much copy and paste of United States HIPAA, so they don't learn, they repeat all our mistakes. This was created 20 years ago for the premise of internet was just created. Everybody were concerned about identity theft, and this was the main reason. But ultimately, overreacting to the privacy law kind of put healthcare data aggregation back 20 years. We still cannot aggregate that. Because of that law, in the United States today, we cannot have one single number like Social Security assigned to the patient. So when you go from hospital to lab to your primary care office, they all have different numbers for you. So when you try and put it all together, it's virtually impossible based on the numbers. About 10 years ago, government introduced a set of incentives for United States doctors, and other countries followed, actually to switch from, remember those manila folders when you come to the doctor, you see that huge cabinet has files in it, charts, and letters. So in the last couple of years, majority of United States and the rest of the world doctors switched to electronic medical records. So these are electronic computers, systems that actually keep your digital footprint within the four walls of that hospital, doctor, office, lab, or x-ray. Because government offered reimbursements and incentives to doctors, obviously market reacted by creating 750 electronic medical record software vendors today. Think about it, 750 EMRs. None of them talk to each other. Doctors don't really like them because they take their time away from treating patients. So they came up with different proprietary data formats in which they hold the data. We call it data hostage situation. So you being a doctor, it's not easy to switch from one system to another, even for a hospital. There's no clear leaders. There's a couple of big companies, Epic and others, but none of them own the market. So out of 750 vendors, very few can talk and exchange data between each other. And of course, I don't know how many of you use fax today. That's something that's still very prevalent in the United States and throughout the world, to the tune of 80% of all medical information in the world exchanged by fax today, 2018. Healthcare is the biggest buyer of fax cartridges today in the world, right? That's ridiculous. So we created a company that creates, aggregates data in one place using blockchain technology and underlying technology using API. Our goal is to create one longitudinal view of patient history, put on top of HIPAA, GDPR rules, and provide access to physicians and patients. We don't use any numbers to identify patients. Instead, we spent a couple of years actually building a heuristic patient matching algorithm and locator. So any transaction that is going through our system, any document, any lab result, any admission, discharge, transfer summary, x-ray, we analyze that using millions of data sources throughout the country, and we put that document in the right patient chart. There's a lot of complexity in our system. It's the entire medical system that exchanges records on our backbone right now. We're just getting started, but we already have all kinds of healthcare organizations and facilities exchanging data. The ecosystem, carbon ecosystem, incentivizes use of our tokens. We use traditional APIs for organizations like hospitals, labs, imaging centers, skilled nursing facilities to receive orders from providers. That's how we get into the data. We automate workflows, otherwise done by fax. And we incentivize ecosystem by distributing tokens, basically. If you want access to data, you use tokens. If you want to submit data, you earn tokens. So that's the incentive for the system. We have web-based, we have mobile system. We actually have customers now, and we're actually making revenue today, started. We have integration with Apple Health. First version is already live. In October, we're going to have a little better integration with Apple Business iOS 12, so we're working with those guys as well. If you like that movie, Office Space, That's us killing the fax machine. Any questions?
Yeah, so good job. A few days ago, one of the partners funding that I managed for asked me whether or not the United States has something similar like what you are doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have two questions. So first question is, are all the medical records stored in the blocks?
Actually, we're a bit different. We decided to store actual records into the blockchain together. We thought initially it was too expensive. We have a pretty large contract with Amazon right now. They're also invested a little bit into the infrastructure with us. But we designed something that converts a large file into a small 1K file. So with that, it's called CCDA format. And using that data format, we're actually able to store any large file like CAT scan, for example, in terms of Ks. So we end up storing everything on the blockchain. That allows us to control ACL much better, access control list.
So let's say if a medical research organization wants some medical records, so they can buy that from the patients, right?
There's a big philosophical debate to answer your question. Who owns the data? Logical response, patient owns the data. It's my body, so I own the data, right? In the United States, for example, doctor is the only one who can order the test for you. You cannot show up at the Quest LabCorp and draw your blood. They can't do it. So doctor says, I own the data. That's why I'm the owner, I can distribute it, not the patient anymore. Lab gets the order, lab runs the test, they have a centrifuge, they produce the data. So lab says, by HIPAA, I own the data, right? Insurance says, wait a second, I pay for all of you, so I own the data, I buy the data, right? So we think it's a wrong question to ask, who owns the data? I think the right question which we're addressing here is access control list. Who can view the data? The data exists out there. Majority of people don't even realize how much of the medical data out there for them, aggregated in small silos. When we bring it all together, we usually have, oh my God, even from doctors, from providers. So patient has some control of their own data, but for example, if you go to a doctor and they order an x-ray, that x-ray is delivered to the doctor, you cannot demand removal of that data because it belongs to the doctor. Legally, you cannot remove that. Nor that if you end up at the hospital, you cannot demand that hospital destroys your record. So you have very little control. That's number one. I see a lot of startups that make that mistake, saying consumers empowered to control the data. Nonsense. So it's about controlling who can view the data based on HIPAA, GDPR, privacy, and even ethical rules. That's what we do here. Sorry, long answer, but
so blockchains usually we want it transparent, but then there are places that are not. Can you explain your permission scheme? Like how does that work?
Yeah, Hyperledger, everything is recorded on the Hyperledger. We do use secure contracts between the entire ecosystem. It's not a peer-to-peer secure contract.
So who's responsible for the security? Your company?
No, we're responsible for maintaining control lists. We're responsible for enforcing HIPAA rules on top of the data. But we don't set the rules. Basically, provider sets the rules, patient could set consenting rules over some of their data. There are some additional regulations like HIV or psychiatric data. For example, STDs are separately regulated. So there's a set of rules. We just enforce the rules. They're pretty well articulated. We put it inside a secure contract. And we control the ACL.
It seems still early stages to monitor, to manage customers' data. How do your customers, the current customer, to manage patients' data, how do your customers deal with that, grapple with that, to work with you?
Well, they view and they can control whatever they can control within the blockchain. So if you view, you can view your lab result, for example, very typical request as a consumer, you can share it with others using, again, secure contract. Whoever gets to see your lab result gets recorded in the audit in the Hyperledger, and that creates a full chain of audit. So anybody along the chain who can see whoever got hold of your record, whoever viewed it, and whether it was shared or not. And that's how you control the audit.
How is it priced or licensed?
We charge per transaction. So we deliver, for example, orders to the lab. We have two largest labs as our customers already, classified by reference, about 150 labs in the US. Brazil, we have 29 large hospitals in Mexico, so they all pay transactional fees, meaning per order and to send result back. It's still a fraction of the cost of sending fax. And I'm not even talking about HIPAA compliance rule. When you misdial the fax number, it goes to the gas station next to the doctor's office. Not even talking about that, just pure transmission cost, we charge 50 cents per transaction. And on top of that, we charge enterprise license for pharmaceutical organizations and others who want to have access to what they can have access.
And you're charging which entity? Which,
We're charging everybody. Anybody who has access to that data.
Just briefly, tell me about your team.
We have a bunch of data scientists, PhDs. I'm myself a physicist by training. We have several doctors. We have people who ran healthcare at Cisco, some of them here. And, you know, people from all kinds of walks of Silicon Valley, lots of Stanford. That's as well. Advisory team.
Excellent, excellent.
It's on our website.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
All right, that was excellent. Getting all your data and access, you can view it when you need it, pay by my transactions. And next we're going to have Velocity AI with Nick. I'm going to try to say your last name wrong. Casamatis from Unity Labs.
Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Nick Casamatis. I used to be an AI professor actually long before it was trendy. I founded an AI startup called Skyphrase that Yahoo acquired a few years ago. Most recently, I headed Samsung with American AI Research, and several months ago, I left to start the startup. You know, we want a decentralized future. That's why a lot of us are here, right? And there's a lot of excitement. You can tell it from the money in the press and so forth. And what we want is a future where our data is private, it's secure, people can't use it without our permission. There are no boundaries or silos between software products. And the software we have is designed for us, not advertisers. But today, despite all the interest and the great infrastructure and money being developed, the great infrastructure being developed and money put into this, we live in a world where basically we're decentralized. So basically, every day we use Gmail or Telegram or Skype or you name it, all these GitHub. These are key parts of the crypto ecosystem. So why is that? Why is it that we're still for anything that's useful, we still have to go back to the centralized world? So the analysis of that we came up with was that at the bottom, the problem is that software is really expensive and complex to build. Something that looks really simple, that takes a few minutes to sort of think about and learn, will take months of several programmers and millions of dollars to build. To deal with that, to solve that, what we did was created a technology that makes software literally thousands of times faster to develop, both centralized and decentralized. And so what I'll do now is just show you a demo of that. So let's get this open. Good luck if you can see that. Basically, all you need to do, so let's say you want to create a decentralized version of Slack, for example. Right now, that would take months and several programmers. With us, it's very simple. You go to our app store, you click new app, something just went wrong. Sorry about that. Oh, here we go. And some weird switching thing going on here. And anybody have any idea what's going on there? So let's see.
Just force click UI.
Click in the.
There we go. So you click, you put the app down there, you give it a name. I'll just call it A since I'm in a hurry. And click submit. That takes you to our app store. You go down to our app store. There's the app. And go to the app. And there we go. So basically, in 10 minutes with 40 lines of code, I created 10 minutes. And a minute or two, 40 lines of code, I created a version of Slack. So basically, messages, channels, teams here, search engine for your messages, all that. again, that normally would have taken months for developers to do. So it's not just Slack. We created, you can create lots of different kinds of software. But one example is a bug tracker that we created. You'll notice basically the folder structure we have here is the same as in Slack. Automatically, we created a version of Asana or Wunderlist, 150 lines of code, same folder structure. So basically, all these pieces of software, again, it took millions of dollars to develop. We can literally build in a day. And it's not just, great, you built a new version of what already exists. It lets you make this fully decentralized because anything on here can be backed on Ether, IPFS, or anything else, any other chain you want to support. You get a lot of benefits to having it all on the same platform. So basically, you get this unified folder structure across apps. And right now, if you create channels in Slack, they don't show up in Asana. They don't show up in email. So you have to reorganize your product in every app. One other benefit is you have a unified use case. So basically, right now, let's say your developer team, you're having troubles with your database keys, and you're talking about it in Slack, you're scheduling it in Asana, 30 seconds. And basically, you're dealing with your bug tracker. That's three things to search over. Here, you get unified search over all these things at once. So that's the product in a nutshell. Go to velocity.ai if you want to learn more, and sign up if you want to try it over the next few weeks, in months when we'll be doing a release. Thank you.
I totally agree. We need a lot more tools in the blockchain space. So would you characterize this as a tool for the front end? Or is there also aspects that could be used for the back end for the blockchain?
It's completely end-to-end. So what you saw is that basically, without knowing, with those 40 lines of code, you get basically databases, you get a connection to the blockchain, you get the front-end stuff, you get the authentication, you get all the sharing and so forth with search. So front-end, back-end, end-to-end. You don't need to know anything about blockchain to build on this. You just need basically CS 101. In a month or two, we can make some of these apps being built just with a web interface, no programming at all.
And do you open source this so people can see what code? You know, there's a lot of security issues with blockchain to make sure that what they're building is something that they can stand behind.
It's not open source yet. That's going to be part of our rollout.
So pricing-wise, where are you guys at in that? Have you figured out?
Right. So basically, we're looking just a standard sort of SaaS model. So the premium model at the beginning, we're basically it's free at a certain tier, but you want to use a certain amount of bandwidth, a certain amount of transactions, or something that's $10 a month per user thing. And as we sort of fully decentralize the system, we can do a token and protocol and sort of monetize it that way as well.
And competition, you guys see as the
so within crypto right now, I mean, Blockstack has a similar story where you control your data and you can build apps on top of it. But nobody I know of has this ability to create apps that are literally 1,000 times faster. I mean, Airtable in sort of the centralized world can do this for some very simple use cases. We can do extremely broad things like social networks and messaging apps, bug trackers, CRM, anything. And so, so that's what I would say in terms of competition. Actually, to me, I think the main challenge for us, I don't think is so much other competition. It's basically creating a developer experience that's so great and easy to use that people will just build stuff on here, and that's a real challenge to me. It's just we're our own competition, honestly. And that's us. Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick question. Sure. So, how much are we raising for this round for your token set?
Ask me offline.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Right.
We're all under non-disclosure. No.
Right.
Do you foresee having an app marketplace later?
Yeah, I mean, we have one right now. That's right. That's key to the approach. That's right. Yeah, if I didn't make it clear, the idea is for third-party developers to create apps on this for themselves. So, and that's kind of the thesis here is like, right now, if it takes $10 million to build something, you need to have $1 billion exit for it, right? And in order to justify VC funding for it, right? And so once you make software literally, $100 to build or $1,000 to build, suddenly there's this huge long tail of needs that haven't been addressed yet that can be addressed. And we sort of, they're all individually small needs, but when you aggregate over that, you get a huge amount of value. That's really hasn't been tapped. The analogy is if you made oil, let's say oil were $10,000 a barrel, think of all the stuff that wouldn't happen. And right now I'm saying software is like $10,000 a barrel. That basically, there's all kinds of stuff not happening. We just don't know it because we've never seen $50 barrel software.
I think our attorney's still in the room that presented first, but so tell us a little bit about your IP. Do you have patents on this yet?
No, literally I sent my lawyer an email recently asking for a reference to an IP lawyer for a patent. That's it. Okay, thanks everyone.
All right, excellent. We're reaching a point where we have programs coding themselves, essentially. That's what's happening. All right, so next we're going to have Christopher Floyd, who's coming for Teammate, Together We Achieve.
Hey, how are you doing, everyone? Stay on, can you hear me? Yeah. All right, everybody stand up real quick. Stand up, shake it out. Move around for a second. It feels good, right? Yeah. My name is Christopher Floyd. I'm here today for Teammates. Little technical difficulty. It's all good to start. So, Teammate is a social media platform that is fitness oriented, and it's also a decentralized marketplace. All right. So what we're doing here is we're putting billions of dollars worth of your health and fitness data on the blockchain, and then we're giving you the keys. Okay. So with this project, we're really combining the power of a social media platform that's optimized for health and fitness space with that decentralized marketplace, so that the fitness data that you create with our platform and all other fitness data API plugins that work with us, what we're going to do here is we're going to allow our users to actually monetize that for themselves. All right, so we're getting into an era to where data ownership is something that people care about. Data ownership is something that we're going to start having a bigger, more robust conversation about. We want to be one of the first companies that are putting the value of that data back in our users' pockets. All right, so we're solving a couple of real serious problems here. First problems we see on the board are physical problems, physical inactivity, loneliness, poor weight management. A lot of the sedentary life that we're starting to live, and a lot of the tech solutions that we're becoming very intimate with are starting to really kind of take over and prevent us from actually meeting people in real life and doing physical activities together that actually make you not only a more physically fit person, a healthier person, but also build those strong social connections that exist beyond technology and actually in real life with another person. On the B2B side, we have a real big disconnect between consumers and their brands. All right, all the different brands are fighting for your attention. A lot of times, what channel are they reaching out to you for? It's difficult for them to figure out where you are. It's difficult for you to figure out where they are. We have kinks in data flow, siloed data. We've all been talking about that. It's an aggregation problem there. And then also some digital business development, inconsistencies and gaps in execution. And that's on the fitness industry side, which is where my background is. So, all right, so we started this project actually about 3 years ago. We released a prototype into the App Store. I know that looks terrible. I actually designed that keynote, true story. So that wasn't pretty. But it was interesting. We had pretty good traction actually for the first month. And we learned a lot from that process. We spoke to our users, went back to the drawing board, and redesigned the application, and really try to kind of find that fit for what people were looking for. So that process took about 18 months. That was a $60,000 operation there, and the initial product release, we just went over that. And right now we're about a month and a half away from finishing the full Teammate MVP and getting that to the App Store. All right, so this is the new look. Looks a little bit prettier. We have a 4x increase in capabilities of the mobile application. So whereas before what we really focused on was, connecting people, kind of like a Tinder function, just really helping you find workout partners that would make sense for you. Now we've gone a whole lot further, and we've built out the functionality there to really kind of address, a whole slew of problems across the fitness space. And I won't get into too much of that right now because it's quite a bit. But we have our revenue streams here. We're really creating a two-sided marketplace here. We can offer multiple solutions for the traditional fitness space, for different brands that work in that space. And also we have our freemium upgrades, and we have a function for personal trainers to go ahead and take their business into that network and connect with those people, those potential clients. Slide. All right, so here we have our beautiful lightweight wallet right there. Again, the Teammate blockchain solution integrates health, fitness, and wellness industries into a unified blockchain ecosystem. We have, really it's kind of what a few other of these projects have been talking about today, where we have our decentralized data repository. We're still kind of up in the air whether or not we're using Hyperledger, interplanetary file systems, a few other kind of technologies we're kind of taking a look at. There's a few blockchain projects we're talking with right now as well that we'll use to store that data. And then we have our token as a subscription service, basically. So it's a subscription service for Under Armour, Nike, any of these companies that want access to that fitness data that we create. So they pay with a token for subscription and access to our decentralized database, and of course that money goes back to the users that are creating that data. So, all right, so fitness data is a vital sign. We're in talks with a few different projects, a few different medical data projects. There's a couple projects in here today that I saw that were quite interesting as well. We want to donate a lot of that data to those projects and start really kind of pushing the ball forward on the fitness data as a form of health data movement. And that, of course, is going to get better results for the medical industry as a whole. We meet HL7, Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources Standards. We're compliant with GDPR and everything else. So we're definitely protecting our users' data. Slide. All right, this is our roadmap, a lot of stuff going on here. You'll see over here, Q2, just open up our whitelist registration, and we have our MVP launching the App Store in Q3, our token generation event in Q3 as well. And we kind of move on from there. This is our team. So we've got 15 people on the team right now. You see me up there on the top left, my co-founder, Ryan over here, both of us are Marine Corps officers who had a lot of experience in the fitness space. And co-founder right here in the middle, that's our CTO. So he's been working on some pretty interesting data science and AI solutions for us so that we can optimize the platform and really get people to work out with optimal training partners, kind of help gamify their fitness experience. And then the rest of our team here, I won't go too much through that. We've got data scientists, we've got some full stack developers. We are looking for more blockchain developers. So I'm sure there's probably a lot of you guys here tonight. So if you are interested in this project, please come talk to me afterwards. Slide. It's our advisory board. Very interesting people on there. Slide. Some of our partnerships we have right here. We haven't really gone too hard for gyms quite yet. We've spoken to a few gyms. Everyone we've talked to so far is interested in participating, at least in the MVP. So it's pretty easy to get partnerships there. Next slide. And if you want more information, please go to teammate.ai or teammateblockchainfoundation.org. We have our white paper available there. And my contact information is just floyd@teammate.ai. Questions?
And I'm not sure if I missed this, but may I ask what kind of data are you collecting? So is that sort of like you are finding somewhere a trainer or a training partner? So this is like a location-wise data, or you can also get like a fitness data. Like today I got weight, I got lifted.
Right. So the starting point, to answer your question, the starting point for that really is with the location services. In order to use any function on this mobile application, you have to enable that location services. So what we're looking for is workout partners in your area. We're looking at the fitness community in your area. We've taken a few different features from a few different platforms. There's some things we liked on Instagram, some things we liked on Tinder, some things we liked on Telegram. So we found little bits and pieces and came up with what we think is the optimal combination for that. So we create very, very specific targeted data. You have to choose which sports you're looking for. Every single action you do on the app is a yes or no decision. Of course, we can log all that information as well.
Then you must have a very mature community. How do you manage that? Or what's your goal? Or what's your strategy for your community?
In terms of, you say managing the community?
Yeah, community.
Well, realistically, what we're trying to do is create communities. So it's very decentralized, not only by virtue of the blockchain solution, but also by virtue of every single function of the app itself. And so every single, like for instance, one of our main features creates essentially what is a virtual water cooler, right? So like, let's say you're interested in tennis in Oakland. Okay, so whenever you go there, there's a tennis channel that's geographically bound for that area. And then you start engaging in conversations there. And if you see people who are saying something interesting or who are looking for a workout partner or a tennis partner for some time, you have the ability to match with them and engage in one-on-one communication there. Does that answer your question?
So you're mentioning you take data, you sell it to companies like Under Armour. You know, what's the reason for a blockchain? You don't need a blockchain here. You can just do this traditionally. What's the essence of why the blockchain helps your business?
Well, what we're wanting to do here is we don't want to have it in a centralized location, and we want to be hands off. So as we collect this data, we store it in a decentralized data solution, of which we haven't identified. We're stuck between 3 or 4 major candidates right now. And then what we're doing is through another tokenized system, we're allowing companies to pay in to have access to that TCR. And then at that point, that as they do that transaction, the smart contract pushes that value down to each individual user. So we actually remove ourselves from the monetization of data.
I see. So the users are monetizing their own data.
Absolutely.
Why would they? What's their incentive of doing that?
Well, they actually receive a reward, right? So they're paid back in tokens.
Okay, and these tokens are, and you don't know yet what your underlying blockchain would be yet.
Well, we're building our token on the ERC20 platform, but in terms of where we're storing the data, there's still a few different solutions we're looking at. Any other questions?
Actually, I still have some questions about the data.
Yeah.
So you have mentioned that from your app, people can choose what kind of workout they want to do today, and they can choose their partner. So I'm wondering, for your data, do you collect that how many reps do I do today? Like specifically, how much exercise I have done today?
We want to take it there, and that's going to be API integration is going to be the answer for that. We're not going to be able to create a solution ourselves that's going to be able to address that, but we are going to offer plugins to basically any one of our partners. The goal is to really bring all this stuff together and allow the user to monetize it. What we envision is someone uses our app, the more they use it, the more people they need, the more sports that they're doing, the more data they're creating, which means the more value that they're receiving by virtue of that automated exchange.
All right,
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, guys.
Get a mate. All right, excellent. Do we have Garrett? And for those who are sitting on the floor, if you want to sit down, some seats have freed up. So if you want to take the opportunity to sit in some nice bright chairs, then they are available to you. Yes, that is. I'll let you do that. This one will work. All right, good day, good day. Well, Nodal is going to be the last pitch, and then we're going to have another speaker, and then the judges will come together and make their evaluations after that. So I'm looking forward to that, and we're going to have Garrett. Are you almost ready?
Yeah. Let's see if it actually works. Or I sent the PDF to you guys as well.
Sorry, trying to make sure these cords work. Oh, here we go. Local president. There you go. All right, excellent. And now we have Garrett from Nodal.
1 second. Sweet. Well, let me go to the beginning. So how many of you guys love your wireless carrier? I think pretty much nobody. So what we're trying to do is build a way for connectivity to be global and simple and free. Because today it's not. Connectivity is the heart of how humans interact with each other. It's at the heart of how we learn, and really brings the world better together. So we want to create a solution that's simple, that's free, that's global. Because today it's not. The internet is monopolized by carriers, and today the carriers don't have any incentive to scale their infrastructure. So there's a huge issue in how we interact with the internet today. And another issue is networks are built for people, not devices. But by 2020, most of the internet traffic is going to be represented by IoT devices, not people. So we believe by leveraging connectivity for IoT devices, we can use those economies of scale to then provide connectivity to people. So what we do is we make internet available everywhere for IoT devices. And we do this through a proof of connectivity algorithm, leveraging the smartphone infrastructure that's all around us. We use the wireless chipsets that are in smartphones, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, 5G, whatever's coming out, whatever's in these phones, we create a decentralized infrastructure of devices to connect the IoT. So instead of deploying billions of dollars of infrastructure to create a wireless network, we use phones. So the marginal cost is zero. And this allows IoT devices that use existing chipsets to then connect to these devices and bring internet connectivity. So this means that anyone with a smartphone or an app can deploy connectivity through a proof of connectivity algorithm and mine nodal coins. And what this means is that the cost of connectivity can be driven down dramatically. So an IoT manufacturer that has an app can deploy our software, and they can start mining nodal coins. And if they mine more nodal coins than they use in connecting their devices, they get connectivity for free. So by building this economy around connectivity, we can create connectivity at a radically lower cost. And ultimately, we believe that IoT devices should be able to pay each other for connectivity. That to really have a decentralized infrastructure sharing economy, we need devices to be able to pay for electricity, to pay for data, to pay for asset tracking, and so forth. And so we're building this basic infrastructure. So what we're doing is allowing things like bicycles. In the United States, it costs anywhere from $2 to $5 a month just to track any of these bike sharing devices. We allow that to happen at a fraction of that cost. The same goes for these scooter sharing. All of these have a SIM card, but by using our infrastructure, we can provide delay-tolerant connectivity for these devices without cellular connectivity. We use the smartphones all around. And the most important thing is a lot of these devices don't require connectivity all the time. So IoT devices require very small amounts of data to the cloud at a delay-tolerant fashion. They don't need to connect to the cloud immediately. So we're going after all of these very low-power, delay-tolerant use cases that represent the bulk of IoT. One of our partners is building electric longboards. So they're using us to track lost and stolen longboards and understand how people are using their products. So we can provide analytics on how these products are being deployed without a SIM card, even without that person installing the app. Another thing is allowing electric vehicles to pay for infrastructure. If you want to do a Visa payment to pay for the charging, the Visa payment can cost more than the electricity. We believe that's crazy. So all of these things that everyone is building on blockchain is underlying piece of that is connectivity. So we believe by building connectivity for devices, we can leverage all of these other things that people are building as well. Another interesting use case is asset tracking for factories and for warehouses. So chipsets are getting so small you can stick them to packages and throw them away. But there is not a disposable connectivity solution out there until now. So something like Nodal. Another thing is connecting sensors to the internet. Today it's too expensive. But by using our technology, anyone can afford to start gathering data about the world around us. And using the Nodal coin, we believe we can build an economy around sensors. So sensors can buy and sell data from each other and build a better world around us. This is what Tim Berners-Lee believed the future of the internet was like. So we believe there's going to be a decentralized internet no matter what. The economies make sense for that. We believe that Nodal is going to be this network. And this is what our network looks like. So we're already live today on hundreds of thousands of devices, and we're growing really fast. And what I want to show you guys is a demo, really quick, about what our network looks like right now. And I'm going to switch the screen to my laptop. So this is a network. This is the Nodal network right now. Today we passed, maybe 2 or 3 hours ago, we passed 9 billion packets of data that moved through that celebration in our office. And we're super small right now. Just today, in the past 24 hours, we saw over 700,000 unique IoT devices. So we can find these devices out in the wild. And if they transmit bits of information like sensor data or identity or metering data, we can then carry that on up to the cloud. That's without a SIM card. That's just using our network. So we're very small. By the end of the summer, we believe we'll have nationwide coverage in the US. And this is what our network looks like today. So we're growing, we're fast. If you guys have a phone, if you guys have an app, we'd love to talk to you guys to get you guys on the know. So thank you so much.
Good job. So it seems from the map that there are more people using this on the eastern coast, right?
Well, that's just where the population density is. So our network, anywhere there's people, there's going to be IoT connectivity. So what our network looks like is anywhere there's people, this network is deployed because it's a network built from smartphones. So this represents most of the population map of the United States. Right now, we're mostly in the US, but we're deploying in Europe and China. What's really cool is that this is the cheapest way you can deploy IoT network in the world. There's no billions of dollars of infrastructure. We believe we can get to nationwide coverage for less than $500,000. So places like Africa and India, and the parts of the world that can never really afford robust IoT connectivity, we believe we're going to be the first to attack these markets.
Well, Chinese market is a very tricky one. How do you plan to succeed in there?
So we have a lot of partners that are super interested in the Chinese market. So again, we work in a co-working space that has a lot of really great Chinese resources as well. So there's lots of really interesting people that we've been talking to. China's investing heavily in IoT. So we've got a lot of interest from a lot of big players, simply because we can deploy IoT cheaper than any other solution for those delayed time use cases.
Can you explain how the mining works? So it's many of these devices are very low power, and so you don't want to use that power for excessive.
Yeah, so it's not using CPU or the battery life of the smartphones. It's a proof of connectivity algorithm. So the smartphone will transmit data up to a validation node, and that validation node checks that the data is authentic and associates a value to that data. So an IoT manufacturer will basically have a bounty for data, and that data will have a much higher value.
So that means all data is passing through your consolidated node. Is that correct?
Yes.
So is there any privacy issues with this?
So right now, we don't associate the identity of a smartphone user. We believe we're a way to monetize devices without giving up privacy and without showing advertisements. So we don't really care about the individual running the smartphone. We're interested in the IoT devices. And we're actually actively building privacy measures to make sure that the individual can't be targeted.
And one last thing is, how can a sensor node have connectivity for free? Can you explain that a little bit more? I got the general idea, but I don't
so
see.
A good example is these bike sharing companies, especially ones that are huge in China. And we've had discussions with them because they're paying in China it's about $1 or $2. Here in the United States, it's $5 a month just to connect these devices to the internet with a SIM card, plus the hardware costs. So these guys have a huge app distribution that's deployed across the whole country, the whole region they operate in. So they run software on their phones, the users opt in, and now these devices become part of the nodal network. And they're able to mine nodal currency. And then they use these nodal currency to bring these bikes online to the network, to locate them and do software updates and so forth. So with that, they're able to pay for the connectivity. If there's a surplus of nodal, if they contribute more to the network than they use, then they get free connectivity. In fact, we can actually pay them to connect their devices for free if they're contributing more to the network than they use. Think of it like peering today. So most of the major internet providers, Verizon, AT&T, they don't pay for internet. Like they have a zero cost of bandwidth in terms of peering with the other people. That's because they have infrastructure. They share that infrastructure with their partners. We believe that we can create a new economic incentive to deploy these last mile infrastructure. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we believe the internet shouldn't be apolitical. The internet should be very low cost, and it shouldn't be funded by your personal data. It should be funded by the actual infrastructure that's deployed. So that's no. Thank you.
IoT infrastructure, all right. Incentivizing economic incentives, all right. And now we're going to be setting up, and our judges are going to depart so they can start discussing.
Thank you, Balaji. Thank you. So what's going to happen now is like the judges need a few minutes to break out, talk about all the features, and come back with a window. We're going to use this one to bring in a very interesting conversation back to that. So we're going to use a 10-minute slot for Anastasia. Anastasia, we have come on. Yes, your turn. So she's going to talk about a very interesting topic, decentralization.
Okay, let's do that.
We got Joey.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being patient and sitting down for so long. I usually do what teammate did, and I ask people to stand up and strike, but he did that for me. So my name is Anastasia, and I call myself a mompreneur. I know I am my mom, and I'm an entrepreneur. And you will ask yourself, what the heck is she doing here? So I work with Nebulous.io. Please check it out. It's an amazing platform, a protocol, and it aims to be everybody's blockchain. And the project I'm going to present tonight is not a project that I worked on personally, but the funders, they both are traveling. So they asked me to present, and I hope I will give you a really good overview of the product. So how many of you here is a developer? Okay, how many of you use GitHub? Okay, so you kind of know what GitHub is. It's a platform for open source projects, right? So probably you'll know by now that Microsoft acquired it, yeah, for $7 billion. It's a really, really big number. What did they acquire, you'll ask, right? They bought the projects that the developers were depositing there. It's an open source project, right? So all the developers would put their data and work and everything on GitHub. And in 10 years, they have 27 million developers and 80 million projects. So Microsoft came in, said, you know what, I really like the platform. I'm going to buy it for $7.5 billion. Good for them, right? But what, can we go on the next one? So what Nithub is doing is basically taking the blockchain main components, trustless, distributed, immutable, and transparent, and applying it to create a better GitHub. So it's called Nithub. It is essentially very, very similar to GitHub, but it aims to be decentralized. So in a potential eventual future, it cannot be bought by Microsoft or any other big company. Right? So if you're interested and you want to know more, please contact the co-founders. You see their contact here, and check out Nebulous.io. They use these protocol to build on top of. Right? So it's a different type of change. Thank you. I guess that's it. Thank you very much. And I'm very, very saddened by the fact that in the judges there are no women, and I'm the only presenter that is a woman. Come on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So it's going to be a few more minutes. So what we're going to do is, like, how many of you signed up for Founder World? 1, 2, 3, 4, 500, 200, 300. No, got just 2. Come on, guys. Did? Okay, so 3 of you. So did you guys have any questions? Like, just go to founderclub.me and look up for the event and sign up. So I think we're gonna take a quick break and then come back at 7:30. But like in about 3 minutes, judges should be here. We'll announce the winner, and then it's going to be the co-founder of Mixer. All right.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Thank you. This one.
Entrepreneur.
I see. But can I say something? That's why so this is something right. And you take away from Amazon. Yes, but that's right.
You can
I'm like 23 viewers. Yo, what's going on? Or
where does it say 22?
What?
21
Hang out,
viewers.
stop. Come check me out.
And I'm not really sure how he
so you'll save money and show you what you really you just talk to the sidewalk.
So he says, source, it could be a lot like
Soccer stuff, but all right. Okay, we're going to announce the winner of the blockchain pitch. If you could please come up and quiet down for a moment. All right, folks in the back, please come down. We have a window. The judges are going to announce the window, and then we'll have an open mic. Please come and have a seat.
Okay, I'm going, yeah.
This thing is not very good.
Almost.
Is it ready or you're still hanging out? So I want to get their attention.
Oh, go ahead. Everybody, just a minute. For some reason, this mic is not loud enough to get over it.
Well, when you yelled, it didn't.
It didn't. Hello? Okay, let's see if the companies are here. You see a few of the people around. Okay. No, these Okay, the winner of the pitch is going to get an invitation to the one of the 100 startups that will be in the Founders World in September that Balaji was talking about earlier. So if you don't mind quieting down for just a minute. Hello?
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 Everybody?
Just one sec. Okay. This is an odd system that is not louder than background noise. So that's why up here it's hard for us to even hear that this thing is on. Okay, so it was great. We really appreciate the judges. Thank you very much. And we have a consensus on the winner. There was a lot of really good talks. Appreciate everybody participating. I wish we could get more than one prize. But the winner is Nodal.io. Overall, we saw the traction, the incentivized use of blockchain. You know, how you were using it was, you know, very exciting, and we're excited about that. So, like I said, thank you, congratulations. All right, and you know, we want to give an honorable mention to Carbon Meat. They were the second runner-up. And quite a few other good ones. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, judges. Great job. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, it's very good.
Thank you, thank you. All right, thank you, Jim, thank you. Thanks, Andrew. All right, so that brings us to the open mic. Hello. Can you guys hear me? Okay. All right, so we're gonna run the open mic the way we have been doing, and it's been very successful. Like anybody who needs help, who needs to come on the stage and talk about the startup and ask for help, please line up to the left. We'll call one by one, and you guys come here. You have 90 seconds to come on the stage, talk about your startup, and then ask for the help that you need. Could be like, your next co-founder, next chief marketing officer, whatever the case may be. Please line up over there.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Because I know I can. No? Okay, well, I'll try to talk loud. I'm radio to just project my voice if you can't hear me. I think we only have 90 seconds, so I'll try to do the best thing that I can in 90 seconds. What I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to show you 4 new products that are coming onto the market. Well, first of all, my name is Giovanni. I am the founder and chief technologist of Giovanni Creative Technologies. Giovanni is basically spelled, I know it's hard to get, but Giovanni is innovate backwards without the E. So if you go to Giovanni.com, you can see our product pipeline and everything we have going on. What I'd like to do today is introduce you 3 or 4 of our new products that are coming onto the market that are very Bitcoin related. I'll start with one that's available now. You can go to store.giovanni.com and pick it up. Right now, if you want to create a Bitcoin address, private key address, you need to find a way to do that offline. We now have pre-sales for what we call hex dice. Hex dice have numbers and letters. You can roll these, and you can basically roll offline your own private keys for wallets and cold storage and things like that. These are available now for pre-sale at store.giovanni.com. They're not available anywhere else. This is the first time you can ever see anything like this. So that's one thing. Another thing that we are working on is we have paper wallets for Bitcoin. Right now, it is really hard to bridge the gap between cryptocurrency, Bitcoins, and other cryptocurrencies. Right now, you have to store it in an exchange or in a wallet or whatever. Here, I hold in my hand Bitcoin paper wallets. You can actually physically store Bitcoins on these pieces of paper. This bridges the gap between normal cryptocurrency and, well, this bridges the gap and makes it easier to get cryptocurrency. I can store this in my wallet just like I do regular dollar bills and still have the value on there. We have an application that allows you to change it and actually cash out. In order to get these, we have a monthly, here's product number 3. It's a monthly cryptocurrency subscription box. You can subscribe monthly to have cryptocurrency securely delivered to you in your mailbox using our paper wallets.
What happens if you lose it?
What happens if you lose a $1 bill or a $10 bill?
Is it like the same thing?
It's the same exact thing. If I give you $10 and you lose it, it's gone. If I give you this, it's got Bitcoin and cryptocurrency on it, it's gone. Same thing as regular currency that we are using today. This could very well be $1, except it's the bridge. Now you can actually carry your crypto with you. You don't need some technical guy to register on exchange or anything like that. Another format of this, which is also coming out, is gift card format. You can now go to the store, or soon, hopefully, go to the store and pick up Bitcoin gift cards like you do to movie theaters and other things like that. Stored very similarly, just the same way. The 4th product, real quick, is a blockchain voting system. I can't really demo it here because I don't have a computer, but I have basically figured out a way to replicate the current democratic voting process completely from end to end on the blockchain securely. You can go to electionexplorer.net. That is the website where it's coming up, where I explain everything, how it works. This is going to be an open source platform that everyone can use for normal voting. And I can't really explain too much. I only have 90 seconds, but please come up to me. I'm looking for help, funding, advisors. We're a very small team. There's only 2 of us. We have a lot of technology and a big pipeline. Another real quick before I go, you can imagine storing crypto kitties on here and using your phone as an app to put up to the bill and actually seeing your physical crypto kitty on your wallet. That's what we have. It's in our labs. It's coming out in the next 30 days. That's another thing that we're doing. That's my 90 seconds. Thank you very much. My name is Giovanni from Giovanni Creative Technologies.
All right, so I'm going to be the next one on the list. Me, Balaji, right? So, Blockchain Founder Club, again, it's a community-based event. So, I need volunteers. We need volunteers to help each other. So, if you like to volunteer, do any part of this event, emceeing, or moderating a panel, or come and help us with co-founder mixer, whatever the case may be, please get in touch with me. We have a Telegram group. Founderclub.me is the website. That will take you right to the meetup. Join and send me a message. We have presence on Facebook. We got all kinds of stuff. But please reach out to me. I'm always looking for volunteers to help us with these events. Thank you.
If you want to check,
Hey everyone, my name is Malcolm. Basically, like a little over 2 weeks ago, I came from Seattle. I packed all my stuff and I moved here to the Valley. I made a little money on crypto, so that's kind of what I'm doing. The reason I did though is because right now I'm working on a project we call BBUC. And what BBUC is we are setting an economic standard for video gamers so that when they play a video game, they will earn cryptocurrency. So I made this way that I like to call simulated mining. And it's essentially a way for a gamer to play any game, whether it's mobile, on any kind of platform. And right when they get a victory, we reward them with this currency. Obviously, a win in a game like Halo is different from like Mortal Kombat. So there's a lot of there's a lot of different economic models we have to factor into that. So kind of function like the Federal Open Market Committee is a good way to think of it. Like the guys who set the monetary policy for the Fed Reds. So that's the first thing we offer. The second thing we're trying to do is decentralize the tournament process. We want gamers all over the place to be able to play one-on-one matches with each other in games that they're kind of good at. Right now on Twitch, you're looking at like getting 40% of your revenue taken, and you have to be either very, very funny or very, very good. And that doesn't make any sense. So we're trying to change that. How we're going to do that is we're building on top of the Stellar blockchain, and we're essentially using their native DEX to connect gamers with each other. So the reason I'm even explaining any of this is because right now I've written a white paper, and so I'm looking for any kind of mathematicians or engineers who want to tear someone's dreams apart. Come to me, and I would love to share with you, go into detail on what we have, kind of the system design, how all these things are going to function. And go from there. If it's something you want to be a part of, then yeah, we'll discuss that over time. Yeah, BBUC.io.
Please, I will make it short and sweet. Gentlemen, would you please now begin? My name is Sue. I'm Anastasia's son, and we're very excited to be here. We are at Finland Stock Exchange, backed by blockchain. So we are on a very early stage, just 2 of us. Me as the CEO, a co-founder, and also we're a product officer. So our product officer led the team product as a digital wallet, which was sold in 2016 for 140 million. So I'm here to shout out loud, hopefully we're at Google. As somebody from Google work as very experienced technologist, where you can refer somebody from Google to us, I'm very happy. So, of course, I expect you to be better than my product. So, the basic thesis of I think the stock exchange, we have running 2 parallel. One's technology, one is jamming or building. So we're very confident. Apart from the technology part, we have the audacity and intellectual capacity to build our jamming to complement the technology platform. So thank you very much. I'm the red jacket. If you are not a technologist, welcome to each other. Thank you.
Hi everybody.
everybody. My name is Leo Mignon, and I want to present you today MDS Inc. MDS Inc. is a company who allows you to self-declare all your medical data, because when you are sick, it's always difficult for a doctor who is not from doctor for an overview of your history, your disease. Why we want to use blockchain? We want to use blockchain because medical data may be secure. We think blockchain is the best way to secure your medical data. Thank you.